Hi, welcome to another video. So, OpenAI has shipped another batch of Codex updates, and this time the headline is not really a model update, it is Codex for Chrome. And I think this one is actually important because it changes what Codex can do outside a codebase. In the last Codex updates video, I talked about how Codex was becoming more than just a terminal coding agent. We had the desktop app, the in-app browser, computer use, automations, plugins, better permission controls, and then the newer CLI releases up to version 0.125. So, this video is about what came after that. We have versions 0.128 and 0.129, but the main thing I want to talk about first is the new Chrome extension, because this is probably one of the biggest workflow updates Codex has received recently. Basically, Codex can now use Chrome through an extension. That means it can work with real websites in your actual browser session, including websites where you're already signed in. This is different from the in-app browser. The in-app browser is still what you should use for local dev servers, public pages, and file-backed previews. If Codex is checking your React app on localhost, testing a page it just built, or verifying a visual bug, the in-app browser makes more sense because everything stays inside Codex. But Chrome is useful when the task needs your real browser state. For example, if Codex needs to work inside Salesforce, LinkedIn, Gmail, some internal company tool, or any website where logging in, again, inside a separate browser would be annoying or impossible, then Chrome makes a lot more sense. And the cool part is that Codex can run this work in parallel across Chrome tabs in the background. So, in theory, it can open a website, read information, click around, fill forms, compare pages, or perform browser tasks without completely hijacking your normal browser session. That is the key idea here. This is not just Codex can look at a web page. We already had some of that with browser use, and the in-app browser, this is more like giving Codex access to the messy real-world web that developers and operators actually use every day. And I think that matters a lot, because not every dev task is just inside VS Code or a terminal. Sometimes you are debugging a customer issue inside an admin dashboard. Sometimes you need to reproduce a bug that only happens when you're logged into a staging environment. Sometimes you need to update something in a SaaS tool after changing code. Sometimes the work is half code and half browser. Until now, AI coding agents were not great at that boundary. They could write the code, but when the task moved into a browser session with authentication, cookies, dashboards, menus, or internal tools, you usually had to take over. Codex for Chrome is OpenAI trying to close that gap. The setup is also tied into plugins, which is interesting. You go into Codex, open plugins, add the Chrome plugin, follow the setup flow, install or connect the Chrome extension, approve Chrome's permission prompts, and then confirm the extension says it is connected. After that, Codex can suggest Chrome when a task needs a signed-in website. You can also call it directly with something like add Chrome, open Salesforce, and update this account from these notes. When Chrome is not open, Codex can open it, and browser tasks run in Chrome tab groups, so the work for one Codex thread stays grouped together. That is a good detail because otherwise this kind of thing can very quickly become chaos. If an agent opens 10 random tabs across your existing browser window, nobody is having a good time. Now, the important part is permissions. By default, Codex asks before it interacts with a new website. The permission prompt is based on the website host, so you can allow a website only for the current chat, always allow that host or decline it. There is also an allow list and a block list in the computer use settings, so if there are websites you trust for repeated Codex work, you can allow them. If there are websites you never want Codex touching, you can block them. This is the part where I think OpenAI is doing the right thing conceptually, because browser agents are powerful but also very risky. Chrome extension permissions look scary because they kind of have to. The extension may need access to page debugging, websites, browser history, notifications, downloads, bookmarks, native app communication, and tab groups. That sounds intense, but that is also what makes browser automation possible. So, the real question is whether Codex adds its own safety layer on top of that, and it does. It still uses confirmations, website approvals, settings, allow lists, and block lists before using websites or browser history in a task. Browser history is especially sensitive. Codex can ask to use it, but history access is scoped to the task, and there is no always allow option for history. I like that, because browser history can accidentally include internal URLs, searches, private workflows, and a lot of context you probably do not want floating around casually. OpenAI also says it does not store a separate complete recording of everything you do in Chrome through the extension. The browsing activity only gets stored when it becomes part of the Codex context, like text it reads from a page, screenshots, tool calls, summaries, messages, or other thread content. That is still something you need to think about, though. If you point Codex at private dashboards, customer records, company tools, or personal accounts, you should be present and review what it is doing. This is not the kind of feature where you just say, go do random browser stuff and walk away. But if used carefully, I think this is genuinely useful. Imagine asking Codex to reproduce a bug in your actual staging dashboard, inspect the front-end behavior, jump back to the codebase, make the fix, run the app locally, then verify it in the browser again. That is the loop every coding agent wants to complete. Or imagine giving Codex meeting notes and asking it to update the relevant issue, CRM entry, or internal admin page, while it asks before entering each new website. That starts to move Codex from coding assistant into work assistant for developer workflows. And this is where Codex is becoming interesting again, because if you only compare model quality, then sure, you can debate Codex versus Claude Code versus GLM versus Kimi all day. But workflow features like this are different. If Codex is the tool that can work in your repo, use your terminal, test your local app, operate your browser, use your signed-in Chrome session, manage plugins, run automations, and handle approvals, then the value is not just the model. It is the whole operating environment around the model. That is where OpenAI seems to be going. Now, apart from Chrome, version 0.129 also added some nice CLI improvements. So the terminal UI now supports Vim-style editing in the composer. So if you are a Vim person, you can use /Vim, configure the default mode, and use Vim-specific key maps. This is one of those things that probably sounds tiny to normal people, but for terminal-heavy users, it matters a lot. If your hands already live in Vim-style navigation, having the Codex Composer respect, that makes the whole thing feel less foreign. Resume and fork workflows also got better. There is a redesigned picker, raw scrollback mode, IDE context injection, and workspace-aware diffs. In normal language, Codex is trying to make it easier to return to older work, copy from previous sessions, inject context from your IDE, and see what actually changed in the right workspace. The status line also got upgrades. It can show theme-aware colors, optional pull request summaries, branch change summaries, and there is a keymap debug command for inspecting terminal key events. Again, not flashy, but this is the kind of terminal polish that makes a tool feel more serious. Plugin management also keeps improving. In 0.129, plugins got workspace sharing, share access controls, source filtering, local share path tracking, marketplace upgrades, remote bundle sync, and admin disabled states. That is a very dry sentence, but the simple version is this. Codex plugins are becoming more team-friendly. It is no longer just I install the thing locally and maybe it works. It is moving toward plugins that can be shared, managed, filtered, updated, and controlled across workspaces. And I think that is a big deal for teams because skills, MCP servers, and plugins only become really useful when you can standardize them. If every developer has a different random setup, it becomes messy. But if a team can say, these are the approved Codex plugins for this workspace, then Codex becomes easier to adopt in real projects. Hooks also got better in 0.129. You can browse and toggle hooks from /hooks. Hooks can run before and after compaction, and they can add pre-tool use context. That means Codex can become more programmable around its own behavior. For example, teams could use hooks to inject project rules, run checks before tools, add context before dangerous operations, or keep workflows consistent. Hooks are one of those features that most casual users will ignore, but power users and teams will probably love. There are also experimental goals improvements. Goals are now more discoverable. They stay paused across resume unless you opt back in, and they show clearer validation and duration output. I still think goals need to prove themselves in real usage, but the idea is interesting. Instead of every Codex task being one isolated prompt, you can define longer running intent and let Codex continue toward it more deliberately. Then version 0.128 added persisted /goal workflows, which is basically the foundation for that. It added app server APIs, model tools, runtime continuation, and TUI controls to create pause, resume, and clear goals. So versions 0.128 and 0.129 together make it pretty clear that OpenAI is experimenting with Codex as more of a long-running agent system, not just a chat box that edits files. Version 0.128 also added the Codex update command, configurable terminal key maps, plan mode nudges, action-required terminal titles, and live status line and title edits. Again, the theme is control. Codex is becoming more configurable, more resumable, and easier to monitor while it is working. Permission profiles also expanded. There are more built-in defaults, sandbox profile selection, working directory controls, and active profile metadata for clients. This connects back to the Chrome update too. OpenAI is clearly aware that as Codex gets more capable, permissions become more important. When an agent can edit files, run shell commands, use browsers, access logged-in websites, invoke plugins, and continue tasks in the background, the permission model cannot be vague. You need to know what it is allowed to do, where it is allowed to do it, and when it has to ask. And to be honest, this is the boring part that will decide whether tools like Codex can actually be used inside companies. Everyone likes cool demos, but the real adoption question is, can I trust this around production code and internal systems? The answer is still not automatic, but these updates are at least moving in the right direction. There were also a lot of fixes around resume, interruption, terminal behavior, managed network behavior, Windows sandboxing, Bedrock support, MCP cleanup, plugin approvals, and Linux sandbox reliability. I'm not going to read all of those because that would be painful for both of us, but the overall point is that the CLI is getting more reliable across platforms and setups. So, if I had to summarize this whole update, I would say this. Codex for Chrome is the flashy user-facing feature, and versions 0.128 and 0.129 are the infrastructure underneath it. Chrome lets Codex operate in your real signed-in browser when the in-app browser is not enough. The CLI updates make Codex more controllable, more customizable, more team-friendly, and better at long-running workflows. And I think this is the exact direction Codex needed. OpenAI already has strong models. That is not the only challenge anymore. The challenge is building the environment where those models can actually do useful work without becoming annoying, unsafe, or impossible to manage. Codex for Chrome is a big step toward that environment. It makes Codex feel less trapped inside the code editor and more connected to the actual workflow around software development. Repos, terminals, local apps, signed-in websites, dashboards, plugins, approvals, automations, and browser verification are all starting to connect together. That is powerful, but it is also the kind of power you should use carefully. I would not give it access to every website and forget about it. I would start with low-risk workflows, use per-chat approvals, block sensitive sites, and only always allow websites where the risk is very clear. So overall, I think this is a pretty meaningful Codex update, not because version 0.129 has one giant magic feature in the terminal, but because Codex is becoming a more complete agent workspace, and the Chrome extension is probably the most visible example of that. Overall, it's pretty cool. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you liked this video, consider donating through the Super Thanks option or becoming a member by clicking the Join button. Also, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye.